This video is sponsored by Normandy 1998, Christopher Mitchell, 212th Trooper and Silas 1610, and brought to you by 212th Trooper requested this topic. If there is a video you want me to make, just head over to Patreon or become a channel member and select the Pickled Producer tier, since among other benefits, you will get to make a video request every month, be it the continuation of an existing series or a brand new story. Also, while I have you, please consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel, since it costs you nothing and really helps the channel to grow. Also, special thanks to Concordia Jedi for providing the voices of Hondo and many other characters. Be sure to check out his stuff via the link in the description. But with that out of the way, let's get on with the story. A long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away, Luke Skywalker and his mentor Obi-Wan Kenobi find themselves embroiled in a secret mission of galactic importance to deliver the plans of the Death Star to Bail Organa on Alderaan. As without these plans, the Rebel Alliance is doomed, and the tyrannical Empire will secure their uncontested grip on the galaxy for generations to come. However, in order to carry out their mission, the two heroes need a ship and a pilot, with this leading them to the Mos Eisley Cantina, which Obi-Wan rightly calls a hive of scum and villainy. Though in this timeline, one additional ne'er-do-well is seated at the bar when the pair arrive, with his eyes flashing as he catches sight of one of them.
Kenobi?
Oh no.
Kenobi!
No, I'm afraid you have me mistaken with someone.
No. You cannot fool me, Kenobi. I'd recognize that scowl anywhere.
Ben, is he a friend of yours?
No.
Yes! Hondo Onaka, at your service. And who might you be, my fine young friend?
Luke Skywalker.
Skywalker? Ho ho ho! I knew those Jedi weren't as celibate as they said.
You knew my father?
Yes, we go way back. All the way back to the Clone Wars, as a matter of fact.
Whereas I recall it, you drugged us and attempted to hold us for ransom.
That's in the past. Now, tell me, what are you two gentlemen doing in a place like Mos Eisley?
We're looking to book passage to the Alderaan system. No questions asked.
Oh, that is a shame, because I do have one question. When do we leave?
We?
Yes, of course! How could I resist helping out my old friend? And because I'm such a sweetheart, I'll do it for just 6,000 credits.
What do you think, Ben? Can we get a better deal than that?
No. But we'll pay half now and half when we arrive on Alderaan. That way he won't take our money and sell us to the Empire.
At these words, Hondo's puckered lips curl, and it looks as though he's going to call the whole deal off over this insult. But then a throaty chuckle bursts from his mouth.
You know me so well, Kenobi. Well, if there's nothing else to discuss, I will see you both at Docking Bay 69 within the hour.
Unfortunately, it is around this time that Luke and Obi-Wan are forced to depart due to the arrival of a small squad of stormtroopers, though having secured a ship and captain, they have no need to stick around, instead gathering up their droids and making their way over to the docking bay where they find a ZH-40 Tribune-class light freighter bearing the logo of something called Onaka Transport Solutions. In a scathing tone, Obi-Wan comments that most smugglers don't advertise what they're doing on the side of their ships, though adopting a faux wounded expression, Hondo protests that he's a legitimate businessman now, and that the Katuni is simply the first of what will one day become a grand delivery fleet known throughout the galaxy. From the look on Obi-Wan's face, he does not buy this for a second. Though hearing the sound of Imperials approaching the docking bay, likely in search of him, Luke, and the droids, he urges everyone to get aboard, as it's high time they left. Having no objection, Hondo leads his passengers on board, then, after performing a rather cavalier lack of pre-flight checks, ignites the engines and takes off before the approaching stormtroopers can even get a look at his ship. All the same, Obi-Wan does not relax until they are out of orbit and into hyperspace, as only then can he be sure they are not being tracked, with the old man using this time to instruct Luke on rudimentary use of the Force and how to wield a lightsaber. Having activated the ship's autopilot, Hondo decides to sit and watch, finding the whole thing very amusing, as while he has complete faith in the existence of the Force due to the Jedi existing for much of his lifetime, the sight of Skywalker being zapped by the training remote while he swings blindly is good entertainment. Eventually though, Obi-Wan calls an end to the training for now, as he and Luke could both use some rest after the day they've had. However, here the blonde boy refuses, saying that he wants to sit up and talk to Hondo for a while, a decision Obi-Wan does not challenge, though he does advise his young charge not to accept any drinks the pirate might offer him. When it's just the two of them, Luke questions Hondo on his father, since he said he knew him, with the old Weequay laughing this is true, though they were never as close as him and Kenobi. From what he remembers before the Empire rose, Skywalker was known as the hero of the Republic and was responsible for many of their victories in the Outer Rim sieges, though when he met him, he was a broody little twerp about Luke's age who always seemed like he was seconds away from picking a fight. No offense to the younger Skywalker, but how a guy like that ever managed to procreate is a mystery to him. Understandably, Luke does take some offense at this, snapping at the pirate not to speak about his parents that way, though rather than being perturbed, Hondo simply laughs more, as he states that now he sees the father-son resemblance, so he'll also bid the boy goodnight before things get too nasty, with that being all that's said on the matter. A few hours after this, the Katooni arrives in the Alderaan system, but to Luke, Obi-Wan and Hondo's surprise, the planet is nowhere to be seen, with a rather shaken Obi-Wan admitting that he sensed something shortly before they came out of light speed which he now fears may have been the death of everyone on Alderaan. In his usual self-serving manner, Hondo used this opportunity to confirm that he's still being paid though, since it would be pretty low down of Kenobi to withhold the second half of his payment just because they didn't actually arrive at the planet. After all, it's not his fault something blew it to hell before he got here. However, here the old man corrects him, saying it's not something, it's that, as he points in the direction of what appears to be a small moon. Grimacing, Hondo remarks that if that's true, he has no desire to bring his ship anywhere near such a thing, but it seems it's already too late, as what they soon realize is the battle station has locked its tractor beam on them and begins pulling the pirate freighter inside itself. Worriedly, Luke cries that they're trapped, before asking what they're gonna do, though adopting what he considers his most winning expression, the weak-way pirate tells him not to worry about a thing, since they don't call him Silver-Tongue Hondo because of all the beautiful women he's satisfied. As a result, when the Stormtrooper squad step aboard the ship to conduct their inspection, they are greeted to the sight of Hondo holding a bottle of wine, as he requests the chance to parley with their commander for the release of his ship. Instead, he along with Luke and Obi-Wan promptly find themselves handcuffed as they are marched out into the hangar and then towards a turbo lift bound for the detention level.
Great job, Hondo. How are we gonna get out of this?
Oh, very easily. You see, there is a trick to removing these sort of cuffs.
And what's that?
This!
Without warning, Hondo slams his shackles into the faceplate of the nearest stormtrooper, knocking him to the ground, allowing the weak-way pirate to pick up their drop blaster and fire a bolt into their chest. Then, before the other soldiers can react, a few well-placed shots down them too, leaving Hondo free to reach into their belts and uncuff himself and his companions.
Ha ha! What did I tell you? Easy.
Unfortunately for the heroes, this might be a bit of an oversimplification, as while they are unrestrained, they are still on their way down to the Death Star's brig, where Imperial officers will be waiting for them. However, here too Hondo has a solution, opening fire on them and the security cameras the second the turbo lift doors open, before yelling at Luke to unlock all the cells on this floor, since a full-scale prison break should keep the imps busy long enough for them to disable the tractor beam and get back to their ship. Alas, this may be overly optimistic, as when the cell doors spring open, only 7 figures emerge, 6 men dressed in the uniform of the Rebel Alliance, and a young woman whose face lights up when she sees who her rescuers are. However, this only lasts for a second, as remembering her role as leader among this band of rebels, Leia asks what Obi-Wan and his associates are doing here, with the old Jedi relaying how he got her message, and so attempted to deliver the plans, though when they arrived, Alderaan was gone. Gravely, Leia calls this Tarkin and Vader's foul handiwork, with this causing Obi-Wan's blood to run cold, as he states that he has no choice but to face the Sith Lord. He then turns to Hondo and instructs him to protect the children, though shaking his head emphatically. The Weequay states the 6 toy soldiers can do that. He's going with Kenobi, since he hasn't seen a good old-fashioned lightsaber fight in years. Also, maybe the Jedi hasn't realized it yet, but he's not as spry as he once was, so having backup who's good with a blaster couldn't hurt. Recognizing that Hondo isn't the sort of man he can argue with, and that the longer he stays here, the greater odds Vader has of sensing his presence and being led directly to Luke and Leia, Obi-Wan beckons for the pirate to follow him. Then, looking at the younger duo, he gives them a sagely, "May the Force be with you," as his words of parting. Thanks to the chief brig officer not attempting to radio his superiors as he was gunned down before he could try, a squad of stormtroopers is not dispatched to the detention level, meaning the heroes don't need to flee through the trash compactor, though there is still the question of how Luke, Leia, and the rebels will get out of here, as without Imperial uniforms, they'll stick out like sore thumbs, and the only ones available to them all have rather sizable blaster holes in the chest. Fortunately, Leia has an idea, having one of the rebels radio in a downplayed version of the prison break along with a request for help, leading to a squad of stormtroopers walking directly into an ambush, where they are stunned by the brig crew's blasters and hurled into their former prisoners' cells after being stripped of their uniforms, weapons, and communicators. This is a particularly cathartic experience for the princess in the wake of all she's gone through since leaving Scarif, though unfortunately none of the armor is in her size, meaning she must play prisoner once more, while Luke and her comrades act as her stormtrooper escort. Though, before they go, though, Luke does use one of the comms to call R2 and 3PO who are hidden away in the ship, and instructs them to make sure there are no Imperials on board when they get back, since once they disable the tractor beam, they're more than likely going to be leaving in a hurry. Meanwhile, over with Obi-Wan and Hondo, the pair have begun making their way deeper into the Death Star as far away from Luke and Leia as they can. However, this just brings them closer to the looming threat of Darth Vader, as stepping into a corridor, they find the black-clad menace there as he activates his red-bladed lightsaber.
I've been waiting for you, Obi-Wan. We meet again at last. The circle is now complete. When I left you, I was but the learner. Now I am the master.
Learner? Master?
Is that Skywalker under that mask? I don't remember him being so tall.
At once, both Obi-Wan and Vader's eyes fall on the weak way, with the latter immediately turning his shock and anger at being addressed by his former name into a force choke, as he begins lifting Hondo off the ground and crushing his windpipe. However, this leaves Obi-Wan free to attack, with the old hermit activating his blue blade and swinging it at his fallen apprentice. While under normal circumstances, the Dark Lord of the Sith would easily be able to maintain his choke and engage in a lightsaber duel, the sight of not just Obi-Wan, but also another old face has Vader unbalanced, so that as he raises his saber to parry, Hondo feels the grip around his throat vanish. Landing hard, the veteran scoundrel takes a minute to regain his breath amidst much coughing and spluttering, all the while the duel continues with Obi-Wan and Vader trading blows evenly. Despite being much slower paced than the duels of yesteryear, as one combatant is an out-of-practice old man while the other is a quadruple amputee, it is still mesmerizing, so that even when he is back to normal, Hondo cannot help but simply watch for a time, though, by doing so, a very unwelcome truth quickly becomes apparent to him. Kenobi is not in a position to win this, as each time he has to raise his blade again he fatigues a little more, and every time the sabers clash, his old bones are jarred that extra bit. In contrast, Vader does not appear to be slowing down at all. If anything, his anger at Obi-Wan's continued survival is giving him strength, with this leading Hondo to make a decision before he even realizes he's made it. He has to step in. Reaching inside his coat, the space pirate then yells for Obi-Wan to get back, since he's going to throw a thermal detonator, before extending his arm and watching the orb circle through the air. Having no fear of such crude tactics, Vader easily launches this away with the Force, though when it strikes the corridor wall a bit further down, it does not explode in a burst of red and oranges, but instead into a pulpy mass of purple that reveals it was not a thermal detonator at all, but a Jogan fruit Hondo had been holding onto as a snack. Such subterfuge only serves as a momentary distraction, though for a man like Hondo whose survival has more than once come down to momentary distractions, this is all he needs, as when Vader turns his attention back to Obi-Wan, he finds his old master gone, having been grabbed by the wrist and hauled down a different passageway by the weak way during the intervening seconds.
What are you doing, Hondo?
Protecting my paycheck. I mean my friend. Both.
Let me go. I must confront Vader.
And so you did. Now we run.
This time it seems that Obi-Wan will protest, though at that exact moment, his and Hondo's comms chime to life, as Luke informs them that the tractor beam is down, and they'll be waiting for them back on the Katuni. Recognizing the best thing he can do for his young charges is retreat, Obi-Wan reluctantly relents, though with a silent promise that next time he and Darth Vader cross blades, it will be the final time. By now, word of the princess's escape and the presence of a Jedi has reached Grand Moff Tarkin, leading to a station-wide high alert, with every soldier on board converging on either Obi-Wan or the frigate. As a result, any hopes for a stealthy escape are long gone, leaving the Jedi Master and his pirate companion no choice but to cut and shoot their way to the hangar, while aboard the ship the rebel soldiers have taken up positions on the Katuni's cannons, blasting wave after wave of stormtroopers so they can keep a path cleared for their allies. Thankfully, it does not take Hondo and Obi-Wan long to arrive, with the latter covering the retreat as the former heads for the cockpit, where he dives into the pilot's seat and jumps straight to light speed. Having done so from inside the hangar, it is a rather rough takeoff, with 3PO letting out a litany of protests about the impropriety of such a maneuver, though none can deny it is effective, as when Luke checks the scanners, he sees no sign of pursuit. Unfortunately, this is due to a tracker having already been stowed aboard the ship, though unaware of this, Leia directs the weak way to Yavin 4 and the secret rebel base hidden there. The sight of Leia and several members of the Tantive 4's crew returning alive after it was reported destroyed serves as a much-needed dose of good news for the rebels in the wake of Alderaan, with this tentative sense of hope only being bolstered when R2 delivers the Death Star plans, allowing them all to see the fatal flaw in the battle station's design. As a result, a plan is formed to launch an assault and destroy the Empire's new weapon before it can wreak havoc on more worlds, though as they will soon learn, it's now or never for such a strategy, as suddenly, the Death Star comes into view on their scanners, with it being clear that it is headed for Yavin 4. As in canon, Luke insists on being part of this attack, and after all he's done for the cause, not to mention having the backing of Jedi Master Obi-Wan Kenobi, General Dodonna cannot refuse him, and so assigns him to Red Squadron with the call sign Red 5. Having always dreamt of being a pilot, Luke is ecstatic that when he approaches Obi-Wan and Hondo to see if they intend to join the assault, Obi-Wan confesses that his days of flying are behind him, while the weak-way pirate bursts out in laughter, stating those tiny little fighters are too cramped for him, so he'll use this time to negotiate a trade agreement between Anarcha Transport Solutions and the Rebel Alliance, since he imagines they'll appreciate someone who can acquire items the Empire may not want them to have. Though slightly disappointed by this news, Luke does not let this get him down, instead simply telling them both to wish him luck before hopping in his X-Wing and getting ready to join the other pilots. However, before he goes, Obi-Wan does take a moment to give him one last piece of advice, to trust in the Force, since if he does that, it will carry him through this upcoming ordeal. With this said, Master and student part ways, as the time has come to start the assault on the Death Star. Falling in with the rest of Red Squadron, Luke is among the first to try and get inside the trench leading to the fateful exhaust port, though this is unsuccessful, as Imperial cannons quickly make short work of several Rebel pilots including Jack Porkins aka Red 6. Were this not bad enough, a squad of TIE fighters led by Darth Vader then enter the fray, with the Dark Lord having no trouble shooting down any pilot unlucky enough to enter his crosshairs. Nonetheless, when an opening presents itself, Gold Leader goes for it, though no sooner do he and his comrades enter the trench than they are ruthlessly dispatched by Vader in a show of force that has more than one rebel shaking in their seat. Following this, Red Leader attempts to carry out the trench run flanked by Red 10 and 12, with their efforts seeing far more success, as despite being boxed in with Vader on their tail, they actually manage to get in range of the target. However, even this small victory proves costly, as the two wingmen are shot down, leaving only their commander, though as he takes the shot, everyone on the battlefield holds their breath. Unfortunately, this brave effort is for naught, as the Rebel torpedo misses its target and strikes the Death Star's hull instead, with Red Leader's last act being to order Luke to lead the next run, before the Sith Lord claims his life as well. By now it seems as though all hope is lost, as the Death Star is almost in range of Yavin, the veteran pilots are all dead, and any attempt to do the trench run is tantamount to suicide with Darth Vader guarding it. Even still, when the order comes through, Luke along with his friends Biggs Darklighter and Wedge Antilles descend into the trench and begin lining up the shot that will determine the fate of the galaxy. That is, assuming they get a chance to fire it, as Wedge quickly finds himself hit, forcing him to disengage, while Vader wastes no time in taking out Biggs, so that Luke soon finds himself the sole Rebel pilot. Meanwhile, demonstrating the same brutal efficiency that has allowed him to kill every other enemy he's set his sights on, the Dark Lord of the Sith takes aim at the final X-Wing, only for a vast shadow to suddenly fall over both of them. Looking up, Vader sees the underside of a ZH-40 Tribune-class light freighter passing above him. Then, a familiar voice enters his mind.
Hello there.
With this threat now gone, Obi-Wan then reaches out to Luke, telling him to deactivate his targeting computer and use the Force to take this shot. Trusting in the wisdom of old Ben, the young Skywalker obeys, opening fire and willing the shot to hit its mark, so that a moment later, the torpedo soars seamlessly into the exhaust port, setting off a chain reaction that will destroy the Death Star. Knowing they want to be nowhere near the battle station when it explodes, Luke along with Hondo, who is piloting the Katuni, pull up, with the pair of ships managing to make it out of the blast radius just as the Empire's new weapon goes up in smoke. For their efforts, Luke, Obi-Wan and Hondo are all hailed as heroes when they return to Yavin 4, with an award ceremony being held in their honor. While Obi-Wan has no need for medals and Hondo is already thinking how many credits he can pawn his for, Luke wears his with pride, since while the war with the Empire may be far from over, he knows that he is exactly where he's meant to be. And better still, he has his friends by his side. And that's where we'll leave things for now. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave your thoughts, suggestions, or screams of rage in the comments below.